Hi guys, John here again with another video. This is Ray, a buddy of mine who lives quite close to me, a neighbour of mine, who I met through dog walking and stuff, and we found we had a lot of stuff in common. And so, getting to Ray, we've got a bit of technical difficulties, so we're recording this on camera, but if it doesn't come out very well, I may have to put it off camera, for the video, so see how it works out. Anyway, so Ray, when's your first if you want to tell us about yourself, you can. But when's your first first events happen? When do things start happening for you on the spiritual side?
Well, the very first thing, a lady that kind of discovered me, she just said, "Oh, there's something around you," and I didn't think anything of it, and sort of went about my business. And I put a bank card to withdraw some cash in the bank, and the card got swallowed up. And I know 100% it was swallowed up, and I went past the sort of bank doors and they were really busy, so I thought I'll leave that. Then a couple of days later I had to sort of go to the bank for a meeting, not concerning that, in the next town. And I asked about my bank card, and they said, "Yeah, we'll send you another one. That's not a problem." It was actually a credit card, so I said, "No, don't bother, leave it." Anyway, the bizarre thing was, and I know 100% that I didn't retrieve, it reappeared in my pocket. And after that, things really started to happen. My grandfather was a great whistler, and I could walk down a very quiet shop down the aisles and I'd hear whistling. And then I sort of seemed to be getting this very direct communication from spirit, which was confirmed by because I was exploring. So it was kind of confirmed by other mediums that were giving me messages. So it all came together. And one experience I had with my son, we were driving along the road one day, and I looked in the mirror of my car, the rear view mirror, and I had this young lad sat in the back, bold as brass, and he actually did start to talk to my son. I couldn't hear, I could just feel a sense of him, and some of the information we have, it's not you're told, you just know. It's like a computer system. It goes down the line and you get all this information that's sort of stored in your brain. And he started talking to my son. He was an American boy, and he was called Brad, and he was killed in a Lincoln Zephyr in about 1946. Very strong communication. And I've had various other people come through, pilots from the Second World War. I also see things spiritually. It's like you're looking into another dimension, and it's as if they notice us as well. So all very exciting, and because when you begin your journey, you're so eager to get all this information out. It's like you're 200 miles an hour, and eventually that slows down. You're able to focus more on sort of what you're doing. But to me, it's a great honour, real great honour to actually have these people communicating, which one of the purposes they help and advise us and teach us. Amazing journey.
So, as you were saying, as time went on, then when you first had an open door to the spiritual realm, there was a lot of stuff coming through at once, which is hard to decipher. I think you said, yeah. But
it seemed to be controlled. I was quite lucky.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I do have is trust, and I will take what I've got without question, really. And I know my experiences, and I trust spirit 100%, and I trust my mind 100%. And that's a lot of it. When we start to doubt ourselves, that's where the information can sort of get a bit sort of confusing or clogged, or yourself, did I see that? Didn't I see that? Did I hear that? And as I say, the more you trust, the clearer everything becomes. The more aware you are of what is actually around. So and they are very respectful, because I myself, although others may be different, I don't get loads of them charging in at once.
Yeah.
There seems to be a filter system where I can sort of deal with one or two people at once. I mean, it's a bit like real life. If you're sort of in amongst a crowd of people, thousands, hundreds, whatever, you can't focus on everything that's going on around you.
No.
So the filter system is quite an important thing to have, in that sense.
Yeah, it's like real life, then, isn't it? If you've got like several people trying to talk to you at once, you just yes, like, one of you shut up, please. I can't,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I'm very fortunate also to have the guides that I actually have. But I will actually say that the one thing that is important to me is these guides are not exclusive to us. They work with many of us.
yeah,
They teach many of us. One of the first things in the early days I was told about an independent guide that we personally have that'll be around us all our lives, whatever lives we've had, whatever lives we're going to have, they remain with us constant. And I didn't get that. And it's like, no, that doesn't make sense, because all our guides be around, hanging around, doing nothing for years. And then penny dropped, and I realised that our own personal guide is actually our higher self. They're again, they're not exclusive to us, because they work with other people to teach and to learn, and that also heightens our communication. If we're actually working with our higher self, we seem to have direct communication then with the spirit world,
yeah.
because we're talking to them as a spirit, as a soul, and then it's translated down the line to us,
So,
giving us a clear picture.
so you said our higher selves are working with other people as well. Is that right? Did you do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. Because I never knew of about that theory. What you've just said about how tell you told me when we were out, when I've seen you out and about. I didn't actually know that. I suspected it, but I didn't actually know that.
Yeah.
Other people saying about it.
If it actually suits you to actually be like that, because I'm not saying that it's the same for everyone, and there will be people that will disagree with me.
Yeah.
But I do sense that it's as if we make our own rules up, and we have a certain way of working. And it's all sort of mapped out there. There's a blueprint that we have of our lives, of everything that goes on. And when we go to the heavenly realm, that blueprint becomes quite clear to us. Although some of us are privileged to actually have that information here. And it sort of kind of makes things a lot clearer. But I do appreciate it's not for me to say, oh, anybody else is incorrect, because they may have a different way of communicating or a different way of doing things.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I agree with you. I think you're right. I don't think it's wrong, but it's the same. Like, I was talking with someone last week about it. Some people reach God, the source, through religion. Some people don't, like myself and yourself. I know that, but
yeah.
It's not wrong what they're doing. It's not wrong what I'm doing. Everyone's got their own. It's like I think all these like religions and non-religions, if you're not in one, are like branches of a tree, all leading back to the same tree core, and that's what I think we all are. We're all like in our own.
Yeah, it's very much like that's how I think and feel, and it's ultimately what it's down to is good intentions.
Yeah.
We cannot work without spirit, and spirit cannot work without us. We need that connection.
Yeah.
It's absolutely vital. You know, and yes, there may be the powers that be that try to break that connection. But if we are sort of not connected with spirit, we can also not be connected with our own spirit, our own soul.
Yeah.
And that's of connection. It's like you find peace within yourself.
Yeah.
And ultimately it's about, you know, for the good of everything, really. And it's about love.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate thing, is love.
Yeah.
You know, and
Agree.
sometimes we distract. It's very hard for some people to sort of say, you know, they love something, they love somebody, they love themselves. And ultimately it is about finding yourself. And personally, that is what spirit has done for me. You discover yourself, you discover your own journey, but you have to connect with yourself. And it doesn't matter whether you're an atheist, you know, or what religion. There is good in everything, as there is bad in everything, you know.
Yeah.
And it's actually is to try and make the world a better place. Not just the odd one or two of us, but it's about positive thought, positive energy,
Yeah.
and love, ultimately.
Yeah. That's
You know.
a very strong message. It's true. It's totally true. Yeah. I totally agree with you. My perspective, you know, I agree with it totally.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when I know now you're um, from your early days of when you first were communicating with the spirit world, how did that sort of develop over the years? Did it change? Did it come more fine tuned, or you know? Because I know now you sometimes speak in a spiritual church as a medium now. So when did it get from say your very first experiences to the stage where you're at now, where you can speak in front of people? How long did that take? Over a few years? Did it take a long
I'm
time?
not
Or
a public. I was not a public speaker at all. I could not stand up and demonstrate things.
yeah,
That is kind of how I was. I was just sort of quite shy, quite withdrawn, maybe
yeah,
to a certain degree. But I had a certain amount of about me. But because it's like there was no nerves when I communicate with spirit. I just sort of reel it off as it is. Um, I may not conform to how everybody else works, but I work how I work. But because I've never questioned what I'm receiving, yes, you can go back to them and say, you know, I didn't quite understand that, or the person I'm relaying a message to doesn't understand it. Have I got it wrong, or could you reinterpret? And then you'll come back.
yeah,
But I know what I know, and I mean, I was also privileged when I started doing my mediumship. They knew it wouldn't be easy, so a week, 2 weeks before I would perform on platform, they would give me information. And yeah, you had to sort of think, I know who that is, so I know who it's for, even though I didn't know the person concerned really, or I
yeah,
didn't know their parents or anything. It's like you knew where you were going to go with this message, and you think, sort of, it crosses your mind, not in a big way, more in a humorous way. Oh blimey, I'm stuffed if they don't turn up,
yeah,
but they will never let you down. And I've
yeah,
also had the fact that people have said, "Oh, I wasn't going to church today." A friend of mine said, "Hey, why don't you go?" Or they've got up in the morning deciding for themselves. They had plans and they've changed their plans
yeah,
to actually go there and receive a message. Some know that they're going to receive it. Some don't. So they always gave me that. Yeah, don't worry, we'll be here. We'll give you this. We'll give you a little taster of what's to come. And then
oh,
sort of on occasion I still get that, but sometimes my mind is completely and utterly empty. Um, it was at the last time of the church. There was nobody about until I actually started to get up there. And that's where also I work with my wife. She sort of writes things, draws things, and I can work off of her drawings, her information that she gives. Sometimes we get slightly things, but it amounts to the same, message of where you're actually going. So spirit will never ever let you down. The only thing that may let you down is your doubting and your quest of yourself, which I've never had. I've had trust. I think it's sort of something that's always been in you, in your previous. I don't believe in reincarnation as such. My understanding of reincarnation is we are an essence. I can only be this person in this life, who I am, this individual. Anything that has happened previously or will happen later, it's like you carry that essence with you of that previous person. And that information is stored in your library of your mind. And some of us can actually retrieve that information as we adapt, as we get that trust. And some of us catch glimpses of what has happened in the past. So it's interesting. We are energy and we are consciousness, always, whether we're physical or whether we're non-physical. That is my understanding of things. Not everybody's understanding, but it's best, I think, to go with your gut feeling, because people can tell you certain things that will resonate with you. People can tell you things that will not resonate. It's not to say, right or wrong, but if things resonate with you and we do adapt as well, so things can change, then you're heading in the right direction, really, I think. And don't sort of doubt yourself, and don't doubt the information you're getting. Well, as I say, go with your gut. That is the important thing.
Well, a medium, not a medium, the healer chap I told you about, the sort of really sort of like my mentor when I started off, he said to me, he said, you get things in your head, he said, just don't ignore them. Everything means something. He said, it all means something. You got an image in your head, you got an idea in your head, don't ignore it. Try and dwell on it a bit, try and explore it a bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I get words in my head. I get the advantage is some of the words that I get, I don't know the meaning, so I have to check it out. And you think, oh my gosh, that resonates. That is totally appropriate to how I'm thinking or the information that I'm looking for. It's like, wow, or I'll get names. Sometimes I get surnames as well. And when I sort of check the relevant information, because the wonderful thing nowadays is Google, but not just that. I mean, I could be talking to somebody in the street and I say, oh, by the way, does the name Katie mean something to you? And then, oh my gosh, yeah, that's my, Katie's a really relatively common name, but I have had some very unusual names. One, for instance, was Verity. And I sort of had this name came in at work, and the next day we were having a conversation, and I gave it to a lady sort of previous, and she said, oh, I don't know the name Verity. I don't understand that at all. I said, that's fine. I said, it's associated. And then the next day we were talking to somebody else, the same group, me and this other person, and she was talking about her friend who was going out with somebody, and for some reason this lady said, what's her name? And she said, Verity. And I turned around and said, there you go. And she said, well, that's got nothing to do with me. And it's like, well, it has, because you're in the conversation now. So it's like, yeah, you get an insight to what is going to happen. Synchronicity. Everything is sort of planned. You might have a day where you've planned to do something and it completely changes, and it's like, yeah, you're supposed to be somewhere else at that particular time. So it's all we are very much guided. They say free will, which to a certain degree is correct, but there is this really strong compulsion or this gut to sort of go where you've got to go. You know, I knew ages ago, and people had actually told me, you'll be performing on stage, you'll be doing clairvoyance, and it's like, get out of here, you know, because it was like, where's all this come from? And it's like, I suppose, an actor or a musician. It's like they have such a talent. And I will always be in awe. There's certain people that I watch and I perform. And it's like when I work, I'm blown away. And I can't take credit for all of that because I'm just the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
You know, it's the connection with spirit that actually sort of, you know, without them, we can't do anything.
No.
You know, they are our workers, and there is a person. This is, as I say, with all the trouble in the world at the moment, and everything that's going on, we have to have these positive thoughts. We have to be able to kind of intervene, not just us, but also the spirit and the souls, because we work. We are soul, we are spirit, we work in the same way, but we have to do something to sort of, you know, direct us in the right sort of way. And it is having that trust. Everyone has the power of thought, and so many people don't realise that power of thought is, and intention is very, very important. It is a key. That's why so many people are waking up to this at the moment, you know, because we're in a new age, you know, and now I suppose thousands of years mystics have been persecuted because people fear knowledge. Yeah. And when you have knowledge like this, it takes the control away from others. And it isn't about, not for everybody, it's not about the money, because I'm lucky, I'm very privileged that I can do my spiritual work and my healing for nothing. You know, no charge, only, you know, the satisfaction of that, knowing that you've done something, because I'm able to sort of work and do other things to sort of put food on the table, a roof over our heads. So therefore, you know, it's not, some people need to earn money at it, and I can understand that. I have a great respect, but it's when, it's like everything, you know, you look at the churches, you look at sort of everything, how this will sort of run. That change. That has to change, because it's about us getting our own identity back and our own connection back as well. And when you find that connection, it took me to move to Wales, which wasn't even a conscious sort of move, to heighten my frequency and awareness. There again, it felt more like a gut feeling and a shove. But I don't do anything I don't want to do. But I felt my heart was the right thing to do. And I've come here and it feels like I've come home. You know, this is the right place to be. Yeah, I still serve a church in Tunbridge Wells because that has to continue. And, you know, at the end of the day, if you give one person in that church a message of importance, then you've actually done your job. You know, that's what it's all about. Because when one thing connects, everything connects. You know, and that's, you know, the spiritual connection. I will know guides, I will know spirit that won't have met each other, you know, with others, because the spirit world is so vast. And you walking around the streets, we see people all the time. We don't know them all, and the spirit world exactly the same. And my understanding is it's dimensional. And you know, you go back 100 years, 200 years, that dimension still operates alongside our dimension, and that's why we catch a glimpse of, you know, other worlds. still operating. It's a time thing. But there again, I have to emphasise that is not everybody's understanding. For me, it is right. It's 100%.
Yeah.
Because we can develop our own imagination, our own consciousness, our own how we want things to be. And that's what makes it different for an individual, and we can teach people. I was told when I came here by Spirit, I have come to WOW to learn and to teach. But if you give somebody that kind of guidance, and they will adapt, accordingly. It's important they have their own ideas about things and their own sort of rules, if you like. There are no rules, but it's like, yeah, you have to have some sort of form.
Your own
And
identity.
at the end of the day, this connects. It connects you, and it's like you become at peace with yourself. I'm not traumatized. I don't have fear. I used to perhaps be aware of the dark because I didn't know what was out there. And now I know what's out there. And it's like, yeah, I know I'm protected. There might be something that's not so pleasant, but I know enough to sort of think, and that's a rarity, enough to think, right, okay, that's not going to come near because of my protection, my other guides. We get kind of warnings, or it's like, my very first experience when I was about 13, my gut feeling, I left my nan's, and I could have gone several ways home, and a very strong feeling was, whatever you do not go this way home. You mustn't do it. I did, and I got attacked very badly by a dog. And that's in life, to actually know what your gut is telling you, Yeah. And what I felt at the time about it, I thought, if I ever had this feeling I was going to get on an aeroplane and I had this feeling, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't do it. And that's how it is. But you can't prevent things. It's, if there's going to be a crash of some sort, if there's going to be an accident, there's certain things that you cannot prevent if others are involved. But the importance is, as light workers, from the spirit world or ourselves, it's there to actually help these people along in their lives. And that is quite like, wow, that is, a very angelic sort of field to work in. And I think if you're working along that lines, your trust is immense. Communication becomes stronger. So it's about vibration, about frequency, about rhythm. And it's like, it's continuing through life at a balance, at the same balance as everything around you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I remember.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's why that incident happened to you with the dog. It's so that it taught you, like, next time, this, as you said, next time you had that instinct, I'm going to go with it. I'm not going to ignore it. But if you hadn't, if you'd just done it and gone with your instinct was telling you not to go that way, you've always been in the back of your mind thinking, oh, what would have happened if I had gone that way? You never would have known, would you? You know what I mean?
No. I was very much, I wasn't ready for a connection until years later.
Yeah.
I had an experience of a previous life where I died. And I had a dream when I was 7. And I woke up and I couldn't scream, I couldn't do anything. And I thought, well, I can't understand that. I can't explain it. And I didn't know whether I'd get the answer. And it took 40 odd years for that answer to come.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be a previous sort of life, where I'd passed. It was Victorian times, but it was so clear. But I also, on a different occasion, I happened to travel to this particular area where my demise happened. And I'd never been to this place before, and I was riding my Lambretta, and I came to the town, and I knew it all, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's exactly where I died.
Uh-huh.
You know, so that was sort of quite like, wow. And some people say, oh, the past doesn't matter, you know, be it in this life, be it whatever. You know, a lot of people say to me, oh, I think I was so-and-so in a past life. I think I was this, I think I was that. It doesn't matter who you were. It matters who you are now.
Yeah.
There is also an issue where, yes, it's all pieces of a puzzle that have to fit together. And when they fit together, that sort of makes you a stronger person. It makes you connect to more and be aware. Because, you know, it's knowledge that you actually gain and teachings to teach others. It's quite mind-blowing. I had an accident on a scooter as well at the time, and it's like I'd got whiplash quite badly from getting knocked from one side. My crash helmet was smashed one side and the other side.
Oh.
And I didn't realise it at the time. The doctor asked me what had happened, and I said, I sort of went this side. It's like whiplash, and he said, have you seen your crash helmet? But what actually happened, this car pulled out and then stopped and then accelerated, and I had to go to the other side of the road. This situation, it's happened to me a couple of times, not on the scooter the second time, but it's like all I had was this voice that I didn't understand in my head was saying, don't worry, you're not going to die. And there was this kind of trust. Before I became spiritual, before I had any knowledge, it was like I knew that I would not die. And we had an instance some years later where I was quite in tune, where a car pulled out in front of us, and I had to go to the other side of the road, round it, and it all happened so fast. And it's like between the sort of going towards the car, sort of heading to our direction, and going past it, it's as if it was this time slip where we went from one place to another. And I'm sure the bloke in the car or the passenger in the car must have thought, oh my God, what happened there? Because we physically should have hit that other car, but we didn't. And it was, you know, I know what happened. And it was like, wow. And we had to go between bollards as well. So I wasn't hacking along, but I was doing fast enough speed, I think about 40, to actually, because you didn't expect somebody to come in for it. So to overtake, to go the other side of the road between bollards and then back onto the other side of the road, avoiding a vehicle, and also nothing coming the other way. You know, it was all a question of time. And that kind of, I've had experiences of this kind of thing, and it's sort of kind of, you think, wow, somebody's looking after me. But you look after yourself ultimately as well, and you become more aware, and also you're helping others, you know. So, you know, they say divine intervention, and some people say it can't be, you know, you can't interfere. There has to be divine intervention, because if there's negative that is trying to intervene with things, take control, then you have to have divine intervention. Because, you know, something that isn't intended to be, others a darker side may have a different idea of things. You know, and people that do pass over as well, is like making sure, you know, ultimately somebody said, you know, it's making sure they do go to a good place. So you either survive something and you sort of continue on here, or it's important that if you do move on, that you might not survive in this life, but your soul, your spirit, what I'm told now, is intact.
Yeah.
which is absolutely, you know, the important thing. And it's a connection, you know, to ourselves and to the world beyond. You know, I do soul rescue, and I know others that do it as well. And it's a very, very important thing, you know.
So,
And it's there again. It's for love.
yeah. You said you do soul rescue. That's not a subject I know or anything about. Do you want to explain actually what it is? Because probably people out watching this will be watching this, wondering what that is as well, if you don't mind.
Well, we actually work. We are spirit and soul ourselves, so we actually also work with the spirit realm. It's where people are great. Sort of one of the greatest teachers on this as well, and awareness. And I know he's around me. He teaches others. He's Lord Dowding. You know, and basically, some people they don't know they've died. They continue on in life. They may have had an accident. They may have been shot, or you know, killed, and they continue their life. They continue what they're doing, not knowing that they've passed. And it's important that they kind of go to the light. They can still come back. They're more than welcome to come back, but it's actually knowing that their soul, their spirit is free, without that connection to the physical. I had a wonderful experience one day when I was in Circle. This young lad come through, and he was okay, he was fine, but he taught me about you know, what it was like to pass. And basically he just showed me, it was like it was a dark night, it was damp, it was horrible, and he was on a zebra crossing, and something had happened to him. He'd been killed. I think he was quite young. I'm told now around about 6 or 7 years old. You know, I don't know what he was doing out on his own. It could have been 5 o'clock at night, but you know, whatever. It was dark. But he got killed. I didn't see the accident or anything because I didn't need to. But he didn't know he'd been killed. And he was just showing me this because obviously he'd moved on. But it was like I could hear click, click, click of the Belisha beacon, you know, as it was flashing. And I could sense and feel this horrible sort of damp night. And time stood still. It was just a continuation. It was there. But he gave it to me like he was in a snow globe. And everything around continued as it was, but this particular person's sort of young life was confined to this snow globe, confined to this particular time. And he was basically saying that is what it's like to die and not know you've died. So you're kind of stuck in that. And because there is no time, you know, they don't feel a sense of time. He could have been there for 100 years. You know, and people go through that, and it's important that, you know, these souls are reconnected to the universe, you know, and they are free, and that's basically what happens. There's many people that do this, and they work with the spiritual realm as well. I've had the privilege on a couple of occasions to actually see these light workers, these light beings that wait, and you know, they know something's going to happen somewhere, and it's like they're here to make sure these souls move on to where they're supposed to be going if they don't survive, you know, this realm, if that makes sense. Hopefully that's given you a kind of insight to how it is, but it's the most amazing experience. And to know, yes, these people should sort of go to a better place, a different dimension, if you like. But knowing that these souls will actually they are free to some sort of some spirits will actually they are on the earth realm. They're not stuck. They're here to help people. We have a lad called Jamie who helps the animal when they pass. He makes sure they're okay. Amazing. I can sense the emotion with him because it's passion. And every now and again, he can go off on his granddad's bus. He was killed in an accident in about the 80s, but he remains a child because that's his choice. And he can go off into the cosmos every now and again on this bus for a little holiday, and then he's back to the earth realm. That's how he operates. Quite amazing, really. But there you go.
Wow.
So, mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And it's I've always thought, people say, "Oh, imagination, vivid imagination." This, I have as a child, I have never had the imagination that other people may have. I haven't had the imagination to write stories, to do this, that, and the other. And that's probably why I don't question the magic that happens to me, because I know this isn't me. I know it's what's around me, if that makes sense. So, and I'm not quick enough to kind of make the things up that sort of happen. And there is no way on earth also that somebody, a skeptic, whatever, I won't argue with them. That's fine. I've actually have sort of changed the minds of a few skeptics, to be quite honest. I'm not out to convert anyone. I'm not out to sell anything to anyone. It's just to connect, really. And we have free will, as I say. But it's like the experience I have is like, I will not doubt what has happened. And if somebody tells me any different, it's like, no, this has happened. Or no, it's not. It's happened. I don't need to argue with them and sort of turn around and say, no, you're wrong, because that is part of it as well, is not to say that I am right and other people are wrong. That is very important. Other people can go about their business and do what they want, and we're on a journey, and that journey does take a different path. And boy, has it sort of really taken a different path for me, from what I was to what I am now. And it continues to do so. But it's trust in yourself, it's trust in everything else. And once you have that connection, everything, synchronicity, it just kicks in, and you're looked after, you are provided for in a certain way. It's not my destiny to win the lottery or anything like that. I don't even do it. But it's like, my journey is here to do what I have to do and follow that through, and know that every day is like, wow, a magical day. And I suppose I do know when I do pass on, I will still continue what I do, in the physical realm, as many people do. They act out. It's very similar to their lives. For others, maybe to learn by their mistakes, but for others also to learn and enhance their power and their connection with this reality, and the reality beyond. We create our own reality. That is an important thing as well.
Yeah.
We're the creators of our own destiny, if you like. And if that's divine spirit, I mean, that's, not, there is a divine, and that's what we're connected to.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, your point of view is pretty amazing. Your outlook on it is.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it is. No, it is genuine. Though, just saying it.
Yeah.
Because see each other chats quite often. Poor dogs are looking at each other. Come on, I want to walk somewhere. We're chatting away there, you know. But you know, you can't really go. You can't really talk in depth that much when you're talking like out and about. Like now, you're having quite a deep, you know, meaningful. Um, well, not so much me, but you're like explaining your viewpoint in a quite a deep way, which is really good to hear. Whereas when we're talking, when we see each other out and about, you can't really do that so much because you start talking and then next thing a car goes past or we bump into somebody else. You just can't do it, you know. But like in a medium like this, you sort of can because
Yeah, no,
there's not the distractions.
absolutely, absolutely. And as I say, it's been quite a journey, and it's a journey that will continue on.
Yeah,
As I say, and once you make that connection, and it is important that we all do in whatever capacity. Not everyone can be a spiritual person.
no, no,
Some people are very spiritual without sort of they're just conducting life's business. They're helping people doing this. Ultimately, it's down to love.
yeah,
You know, they're doing this, that, and the other. They're functioning, but others are programmed to, you know, make loads of money and be controlling. You know, maybe some of them do wake up, but you have to have this sort of kind of light and dark. But I mean, the other thing is, you know, us suffering pain. You think, why do people go through sort of what they go through? You know, I've got health situations. You know, I suppose in comparison to some other people, it's not so bad. But if I didn't experience, as an empath, if I didn't experience a bit of pain and suffering, I wouldn't understand it. So you need to kind of experience that kind of thing.
yeah,
And, you know, one of the earlier teachings was, you know, people come into this world, into certain lives to experience what somebody else, you know, if be it a person blind or deaf or whatever, or a person totally crippled, they come to experience that kind of experience to sort of, and you know, it creates a very strong empathy
yeah,
for people, you know, to do what they're actually doing. You know, and you may look at some people and think, oh, their mind is kind of closed off because of how their disability is, but their mind is as connected as our minds, you know, and their awareness, their knowledge, in some cases, more so, you
yeah,
know. It isn't, you know, the old situation where if somebody has this with them or that with them, oh yeah, they're being punished for whatever they've done in it. That's total mishmash. In my experience, it's like, no, they've come to experience this kind of thing and become a stronger person through it, you know, and, you know, in this life and whatever sort of happens after, you know, that is their experience.
yeah,
Um, as time's gone on, also talking to you now, you know, and this has become very aware that it's like when I talk to people now, it's like it's more than just me talking. It is my higher self. It's like, where's all this, or somebody that's connected, where's
mm,
all this information coming from? Because it's not my mentality, it's not my thinking, but it's like you're guided to speak, you know. And we have influences, you know, around us. That's what guides for. Lord Dowding was a public speaker, you know, so what better person to have around you to actually, they won't take over, they will only guide you.
yeah,
My oldest son studied very hard. And at the time he was studying, he'd have bits of paper on the wall, you know, with writings here, there, and everywhere. And he worked both of my children did. That he worked very, very hard. But at the time he was studying and working from about the age of 13. Um, he still sort of was learning, before that. But it's like I was very aware that he had a headmaster around him that kind of influenced his thirst for knowledge, and that thirst for knowledge still continues to this day. And it's like, he's forever evolving. Like my younger son, he works with animals, loves horse, loves ride, but he actually works with canines. And he was one of the first people in both sides of the family to actually go to university. This, I do look at this as a connection to actually, you think, wow, once you're actually connected to the universe, it's like a carousel. You go round at the same speed as the universe, and it's like you're in time with everything, and everything just fits. It's like, wow, if that makes sense as well.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It's very, very mind blowing.
Yeah.
And it's about freedom at the end of the day. It's like, I refer to the system, and we look at sort of how broken the system is becoming, that system of control. Yes, there's sort of wars going on. There's this because there's, darker forces, but there's people that have broken free of this kind of system. What I sort of have recently learned is one of the greatest importances of breaking free is not so much consciousness, it's a subconscious, because you actually, all of a sudden, you become totally free and independent of what people may put in front of you, how they want you to live, how they want you to think, how they want you to feel. Because it's you have this freedom of the universe where you can sort of think for yourself, where you can, yes, you're guided, you're taught, but you won't get told this is how it is, this is how we have to make it, you have to think the same, like religion, anything. It's like you have to think like this, you have to feel like this, you have to see it from our point of view. You become an individual, and that individual sort of creates its own reality, and that's, an important thing. Very, very important thing, because that is your freedom.
Yeah.
Still connected, but free.
Well.
And when you free the physical, when you free your mind, it's as if your soul and spirit also become free.
Yeah.
It's so connected, so.
Right.
And there's nothing like it.
I could talk to you for hours, to be honest, but I'm going to have to close this
I'm
now.
sure we will again.
I got a show to do in 10 minutes with my buddies. So I'll have to end it now.
Very quickly.
But maybe we could talk again in the future, won't you, iron out these difficulties we've got. It's internet, it is. Did you say your internet's not very good with you, is it? Did you say before?
Not very good. We're under contract because I think we'll go the same way that you're going.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But no, very, very interesting. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, honestly, you come up with some. I think your messages are going to. What you've said is going to like reach people, especially on my channel where this is going to be aired when I edit it. It's probably be at least tomorrow before it's done, maybe even Thursday, because I got to edit the audio, because some of the audio is like a bit louder than others and a bit quieter, and I'll sort it all out anyway. But
if you've reached one person or you've connected with that one, but not necessarily your view, but something they see in it or hear in it, then you've done your job, and that's the important thing.
Well, you did an interview. I was actually interviewed with a lady, Karma Love, who was actually a co-host of the show now in a minute that I'm doing. She interviewed me, and there were several people who were really affected by the interview in a positive way. They really, they said to me, I love that. It just meant so much to me, and I thought, well,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
I've done
yeah.
my job. That's what I'm here for, you know.
Yeah,
So
no, exactly. And it's very important that you continue doing so because it connects people,
yeah,
and that's I
right,
mean, one of the things with media, I suppose, media can be a negative thing, but media sort of kind of create things as well. I mean, they want me to use Facebook as a journal, put out what I put out, and it's like, yeah, it's very much
yeah,
to what I have to do, you know, to get out. As I say, and if you touch one person, I'll wake that person up, not necessarily to your views. Then you've done your job,
yeah. That's
you
totally
know.
true. Okay, mate, I have to shoot.
Right, no problem.
I'll speak to you
Thank you
soon.
very
Yeah.
much.
Okay, bud.
We'll see you later, won't we?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. That's still okay, is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, when you're ready. Yeah, round
Okay.
about 7 o'clock.
Is that okay? I'll
Brilliant.
see you then.
Thank you very much.
Cheers,
Take
buddy.
care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.